TonyCurtis's final goodbye shocks everyone. I still remember the day the news broke. October 2010. The entertainment world was reeling from TonyCurtis's death, but what came next would shatter his family in ways no one could have imagined. I was there when the will was read. The silence in that sterile law office was deafening. Jamie Lee Curtis sat rigid in her chair, her knuckles white as she gripped the armrest. Her siblings flanked her, Kelly, Alexandra, Allegra, and Benjamin, all expecting the usual celebrity estate drama, maybe some squabbling over percentages. But nothing could have prepared them for what they heard. I acknowledge the existence of my children, the lawyer's monotone voice read from the document, and have intentionally and with full knowledge chosen not to provide for them. The words hung in the air like poison. Everything, the $60 million fortune, the Beverly Hills mansion, the art collection, even his personal mementos, went to Jill Vandenberg, his sixth wife of 12 years. A woman his children barely knew. I watched Jamie Lee's face crumble for just a split second before that famous Curtis composure took over. The same steely resolve that made her a scream queen, that carried her through her own battles with addiction and pain. But I saw it, the little girl inside still desperately seeking her father's approval, now faced with his ultimate rejection from beyond the grave. The cruelest part. Tony had rewritten the will just months before his death. This wasn't some old document gathering dust. This was deliberate. Calculated. A final act of control from a man who had controlled narratives his entire life. Why? Kelly whispered, her voice breaking. What did we do? The lawyer had no answers. TonyCurtis, the man who charmed audiences in Some Like It Hot, who made women swoon and men envious, had left his children with nothing but questions and a wound that would never heal. I learned later from those close to the family that Jamie Lee had tried to reconcile with her father in his final years. She'd reached out, attempted to bridge the decades of distance, the failed relationships, the resentment that had built like scar tissue over their hearts. But Tony remained cold, distant, perhaps already planning his final, devastating move. The media circus that followed was brutal. Reporters camped outside Jamie Lee's home, desperate for a quote, a tear, anything to feed the story. But she gave them nothing. Not a single word of bitterness. Not one moment of public grief. Her silence became more powerful than any statement could have been. But I knew the truth. Sources close to the family told me she would wake up screaming some nights, calling out, "Daddy, why?" in her sleep. She threw herself into her work, into her marriage with Christopher Guest, into being the kind of parent she never had. The pain transformed her, hardened her resolve to break the cycle of abandonment that had plagued the Curtis bloodline. Years later, I discovered something that made Tony's betrayal even more heartbreaking. Hidden in his personal effects, Jill found dozens of newspaper clippings about Jamie Lee's career, her struggles with addiction, her triumphs. He had been watching, following her life from the shadows, perhaps even proud, but too proud himself to ever say it. The other children fought the will in court, spending years and thousands of dollars in legal fees, but it was ironclad. TonyCurtis, even in death, got the last word. But here's what Tony never understood: his silence created something more powerful than any inheritance ever could. Jamie Lee Curtis didn't just survive his abandonment, she flourished despite it. She became the parent he never was, the artist he claimed to be, the person who could love unconditionally in ways he never learned. Sometimes I wonder if that was his final gift, not the money he didn't leave them, but the strength they found in surviving without it. In the end, TonyCurtis's greatest performance wasn't on screen. It was teaching his children that they didn't need his approval to be extraordinary. The silence he left behind didn't break them. It forged them into something unbreakable. Subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more incredible stories to come.